William went by on his butcher's bike, red hair flaring in his slipstream, coat wings beating, staring through his NHS Mirror Joe 90s with his mouth align against the wind. He was Daniel's friend, tall and weird, a kind of Daniel 2, a year below us in college. I wonder if there was a me too, this year's model student. I was walking through the estate on my way to the laundrette on the other side of the Wick Road, next to the church. None of these things are good examples of the genus estate, laundrette, road, church, but then neither was I, whatever I was. There are only a few shops or services near the blocks because I suppose they didn't think the residents would have a lot of money to spend. And what shops existed were just like the blocks themselves, half empty, dirty, and robbed a lot. I crossed at the bus stop, which wasn't a good example of both of itself. Walked into the laundrette. Forget any rosy vision of neighbourhood washer dryeries, 50s Bakelite doo-wop radios and mint green Art Deco cars with fins and white-walled tyres gliding by. This is Unpleasantville. A cement Satan's grotty O with no windows. 2 rows of machines and everyone else's dirty washing. That warm, close smell, damp and chemical. Same as Dan's room then, but with different chemicals. I bought a cup of powder from a vending machine, dumped my rags into a washer, put my money in and watched the colours run around in circles. This enthralled me for the next whole half minute. Then I walked out. Outside was also smelly, damp and chemical. A train groaned east along the skyline. Dinosaur screeching wheels, rust on rust. I crossed the road and walked past the pub to the crossroads. To the west, the road ran under a couple of bridges leading to the Blackwall Tunnel under the river a few miles distant. I never went there, and I never knew anyone who did, apart from Paul, but he had a job. I visited the supermarket, which did sell things, but was hardly super. Shit market, though, no ring to it, really. Kind of a mini market anyway, big corner shop, high prices, low concept. I wandered the aisles thinking about Barbara Stanwyck, but seen only Barbara Windsor. I bought things which reflected my life. Beans and cigarettes, wind and smoke, shit and death. Queuing up to pay, you eye other people's stuff. Crisps and crap. Cans and bottles, packets, boxes, colours, responses. How much cack can you push into yourself? I began to work on a theory that food was a way of sedating the population with the twin opiates of sugar and salt. And marketing was the government's tool of repression. I worked on this theory for as long as it took to check out my hinds and camels, and then abandoned it because it was true, and nobody'd argue much about it. And who wants a theory nobody disagrees with? Might as well be a liberal. I let myself into the flat. First the metal gate to keep the fire brigade guessing while we roasted in private, and second the front door to give the burglars something to kick in instead of me. The L-shaped hallway is dark because there's no light bulb, and I painted it black anyway. Walls, ceiling, doors, all black. I even painted the random clumps of hair Daniel leaves on the whole carpet black. My nature abhors a vacuum cleaner, so they got a lick of the nihil as well. You kind of have to get a feel for it. It's not everyone's cup of tar. I'd covered one wall in 154 identical black and white photocopies of Kafka's face, created a certain impression, the perfect hideout for a fugitive Dalmatian. I like black and white photos, clothes and ideas, because it's just easier to understand a 2-colour picture, easier to match 2 shades of clothes, and easier to win an argument if you only admit there's 2 sides to the story. Some people try to wriggle out of stuff by saying that the world isn't black and white, it's grey. It's many shades of grey, my friend. But if I ask them if the world is black and white, they have to say no, which is a black-white answer, and so I win, and they've contradicted themselves, which I really like. If they say yes, I also win, but I like it more. I tried to trap Daniel into admitting he was a dualist, but he thought it was something to do with Ridley Scott, and he wouldn't play along. There were 2 bedrooms off the hall, did I tell you? Mine and Daniel's, and a bathroom, if you could make out the doors in the gloom. If you couldn't, their distinct smells could act as a guide. Drugs, socks or piss, sir. End of the hall led to the front room with a kitchen off it and a completely different smell. Besides Paulie's stuff in a corner, the front room had a sofa and a desk by the window, which covered one wall looking out over London from 17 floors up, miles in each direction. Alexandra Palace to the Crystal Palace, St Paul's to the Post Office Tower, the Barbican to whatever else, 1,000,000 cubic miles of shit and concrete, full of rape, hate, pollution, collusion and contagion. I go through to the kitchen, a room where Daniel and I both failed to cook anything recognisable. Me, because I couldn't cook, and Daniel, because he couldn't recognise anything. Paulie ate at work, mostly. I took a bottle of cheap wine from a plastic bag and put it on the side, with a can of baked beans and allegedly sausages, crisps, instant coffee, pre-cooked, freeze-dried risotto, packet soup and some pretend frozen burgers. The most organic thing I'd got was the plastic bag. It was a shopping technique founded on sharing a fridge with greedy people and no food in the house. Buy stuff they won't eat. Paul couldn't steal, and I didn't care if Dan ate my plastic bag. He probably would too if he read it was okay in some hallucinogenic vegan porn Bible. After thinking about it for no time, I picked up the wine again and went to my room. I sat down in the chair by the desk, put my feet up and stared at the dirt on the outside of my bedroom window. Then I stared at the dirt on the inside of the window. I felt myself adrift. I wasn't even in a bad mood. Nobody was around, so a bad mood was harder to get into. I was bored instead, just as familiar, but less focused and not as satisfying. I sighed, looked at the crap on the table, my mum's 1934 Oxford Dictionary, empty packets of Camels I hadn't yet glued to the wall above the desk, a solid metal Zenith SLR, paper. This is what they'd find if I disappeared right now. This was what they'd look through for a clue to my passing. This was my life, my flotsam, my jetsam. It seemed like I should be leaving more interesting stuff. I looked around the room. More books, more paper, more clumps of Daniel's hair. I rummaged through a drawer for a lighter, wondering if I'd find my existence somewhere in there. It'd fit. My hand came out with a little card from a temp agency someone had given me. The agency is called Catch-22. Really? Should have given me a clue. Tips for temps. What we do for you. Temporary, permanent, industrial work. Variety, continuity of temp assignments. Drinks evenings and other social events. Payday is Thursday. We pay straight into your bank account. Help with employment, tax advice, etc. What you do for us. Remember, you represent us and yourself. I'm in my room staring at this bit of card which wants to ruin my life, trying to work out a different way of ruining it, which doesn't involve phrases like temp assignments and drinks evenings. I regarded life itself as a very long temp assignment, and I didn't think drinks should be limited to evenings. Bank account and pay into had a very ominous association for me, as I had inverted the traditional banking roles, the bank depositing its savings with me at a very generous rate of interest, which, they set, which I wouldn't be paying anyway. I looked at the card and I thought I could reduce the bullet points to just one for each heading. What they can do for you is screw you, and what you can do for them is let them. So really it's one thing. Tips for temps, slave etiquette, penal code of conduct. I hear Dan let himself in the front door. He knocks and pokes his head around the door. His head is 6'5" off the ground. You don't expect it to be so high. Appears disembodied near the top of the door. He's smiling like a Cheshire cat who got the cream, complete with Ginger Baker's whiskers. I have exciting news, he says, and snorts a little bit. I take my feet off the desk. Hee, he says, and his head goes back round the door. What? I follow him to the kitchen. He stands there, a crow draped in his ankle-length coat, unloading a plastic bag of even worse food than mine. Vegetables with no name for them in English. Paper bags full of little dry pellet things he'll soak and boil later, as if they were socks. Bottles of Thunderbird. He plants them on the table like gravestones to his dietary system. Arlington ranks. He takes a knife off the side and starts cutting up some little yellow fruit. What's that? Kumquats. The defoliant? You're eating herbicide now. Yeah, ha. He operates on the fruit. Doctor, no way. His coat is some kind of demented herringbone pattern, one of those PLO tea towels round his neck, and black cotton trousers, which are too short for him and too long for anyone else. Black espadrilles, no socks. A mortician to his own nonsense of fashion. Failed leisure wear for the ideology free in the Pomo Nihiscape. What? He puts the kettle on, which in our flat is a pan of water on the electric cooker. Tea coming, I don't have much time. I watch him move around the kitchen, putting things away, an undertaker among his cadaverous guests. He takes a carton of something undead from the fridge. The fridge is now totally empty, even though I've just been shopping. He goes out and comes back in without the coat on. Hee. I decide to wait, play the game. Chess or child's play. He's Fisher Price. I'm Bobby Fischer. I stand by the sink with the rest of the unwashed waste and pretend to look at the big map of Europe I'd blue-tacked to the wall. It's a shame to think how few pins I could put in it, all the places I couldn't name. Full of dusky, lusty maidens and other things that didn't exist on my plane, my terms, whatever plane I caught, whatever term I completed, while I stood alone in a Hackney high-rise with Iggy Pop's aborted twin, wondering what exciting news could mean. He starts eating something awful looking from a bowl, soya milk, spoon. What's that? What? What's that stuff you're eating? Breakfast. Yeah, what is that? Daniel worked off a different timescale from me, from the world. He didn't need a time machine, he needed a mechanic. He filled up space and time with a detritus of his own unconscious intentions, an arachnid with 4 legs missing, clambering around a kitchen doing nothing doing. He potters for the International Pottering Association. I stand around for the lost and lonely. The tea appears, embalming fluid for the insolvent. He lights a cigarette, a pyre. I sigh. Oh, I look at Poland. I got tickets for row 3 at the Hammersmith Odeon for Jethro Tull in October. That near to Ian Anderson. For fuck's sake, I thought you were getting married. Yeah, he snorts.